I don't know, what's a good metaphor for something sounding bad? Like like I've been like I'm broadcasting from an antique radio. Make sure to tell me if I sound like I'm not broadcasting through an antique radio, and also tell me if I am, because then I need to fix. But I think it should work better than it did last time, which we love when things like get better over time. Uh, how's everybody doing? Like, how is everyone doing at this fine hour? Would you like to say, or or are you just here to listen to me read things, so I should just go read things and stop trying to be social? I will read things, stop trying to be social. Oh, I will mention, I don't know if anyone here will care about this, but tomorrow I'm going to read another chapter, which that's fun, but I'm also going to read, like, um, a random chapter of a play version of Tale of Two Cities, for my English class. So if you want to hear a random chapter of a random scene in a play, a version of Tale of Two Cities, be excited. I don't think you want to hear that, but you can. We love freedom to do silly things that we don't want to do around here. Anyways, let's read some fan fiction, all right? Today we are reading Your Words Destroyed My Planet. Again, obviously, it says in the title of the stream, Chapter 4, Black Hole. It's not the fault of the Striders, but you've not been sleeping great lately. You don't even think that it's the fact that you're sleeping alone. You often fall asleep without a radio when she was off on some planetary adventure. You could sleep in your bed like a starfish, and it was insanely restful. You suppose the difference is that this time Aradia isn't coming back. It's not a small break. It's forever. You've unpacked a little more in the week you've been here, but there's still boxes of your stuff piled up in the corner. And in all honesty, you don't know when you'll get your shit together enough to unpack the last of it. In some stupid way, it feels like unpacking the last box will be some big final moment, a sign that everything between you and Arati is properly over. Not that you've been able to bring yourself to contact her at all since it all ended. You'd like to think that she's trying to give you your space, but it certainly feels like more proof that she just wasn't that into you anymore, and you being out of her life makes no difference. You roll over in bed yet again, sleepless and upset. When you look at the clock on your bedside, you figure that it's early, but not stupidly early to be up. Just earlier than you normally would get out of bed. Seeing little point in staying put, you sit up and swing your legs out of bed. Since you don't have work today, you just change into your regular clothes. Not that your work actually cares about your clothes, but you have to wear something at least somewhat presentable when you're on duty. These jeans with the rips in both knees that you got from shuffling around under far too many desks with rough mechanical grates that hide cables aren't good enough for work, but they're good enough for you. You're not throwing away perfectly good clothes in the fabric recycling if you don't have to. Stepping out into the main room, you're surprised to see that anyone else is up. You're even more surprised to see Dave sat shirtless in front of the coffee table. Oh, I didn't. You start to say, but Dave holds a finger up like he's trying to pause your words for a moment. Listening closer, you can hear him muttering something to himself as his pen slides across the screen of his tablet in hurried writing. You listen curiously and hear him mumbling about counterweights and a series of numbers that it don't mean anything to you. Finally, he pauses and squints at his screen before nodding. Sorry, would have lost my train of thought. Jumped the tracks and all the math inside would have died, Dave says as he turns his attention to you and leans back a little on the floor. It's fine. Would that work, you ask? Was that work? You ask, your eyes flickering to the now dark screen of his tablet. Yeah, just trying to prepare. Something, something, failing to prepare is preparing to use tired metaphors or whatever. Dave shrugs. That's definitely what they say. You agree absently. You're not really thinking about what he's saying. You're sort of staring at him. Not like you've never seen him shirtless. You don't think, or at least not since you were. Not like that, but you've never seen him shirtless, you don't think. Or at least not since you were kids in school getting changed for gym, and even then you weren't eyeing his stupid mammal torso then. No, you have a specific focus here. I didn't know you had a tattoo, you say, pointing to the bark beast that stretches up his whole right bicep. Oh, this, I've got a few. This one kind of old. I drew the design for this one myself, Dave says lightly and shifts his arm so you can see it a little better. The bark beast on his arm isn't anything like Beck, who's a big, fluffy white monstrosity of canine excitement. No, this one looks like a smaller dog with short fur. It's rendered in black and white and wearing a little doggy coat or something as it looks off with big dark eyes into the sketchy expanse of space and stars around it. Its head is tilted slightly, one folded ear quirked up like it's listening. It's really well done, and you're surprised you've never seen it before now. He just said he has others, but you can't see any of those, so you're left to wonder. It's really well done, you say, a little awkwardly, not entirely sure what the appropriate way to compliment that tattoo is. Thanks. Hey, since you're up, you should troll Hal. He was getting breakfast, Dave suggests and picks his tablet up to continue reading whatever work he's doing. Hey, Dave said to troll you. Oh, you're awake. I'm grabbing breakfast from Czar's. Do you want something? Do they still have that special with the hash browns? Sure, do you want that? Yeah, and coffee the size of your head. Pay you back later? Sure, I know where you live, also where you work. You're the laziest stalker ever. Or the best. You lower your palm husk a little to look over at Dave, who is actually, not only are you not sure what he's doing, but you also don't know how he's doing it. His legs are splayed apart in a wide V on the floor, but he's leaning so far forward that his elbows are resting on the floor and he's casually reading from his tablet. You're not sure how the hell he can do that with seemingly no effort. Aren't those muscles that go up the back of the legs that ought to be screaming from that stretch? What are you doing? You ask him incredulously. Just reading a report. We're going to that planet, and the team from Reaching Liberty were there first, so I'm just catching up on where they've put everything, so I know what I'm doing when I'm down there. A lot of working out waypoints on very staticky maps and doing math plot points. Dave says casually, though you know that he doesn't show you anything he's looking at. I meant the way you're sitting, but sure, that too, you say, gesturing to his whole posture. Oh, yeah, it's no big. I overworked one of my hamstrings the other day, so I'm trying to make sure it's all good. Dave says, like, that isn't any way explains his seemingly impossible posture. Either because he's done or because you called attention to it, Dave sits up and tucks his legs back into a relatively normal crisscross fashion, still reading his tablet as he does so. I didn't realize there was so much research involved in your job, you blurt out, and immediately realized just how that sounded. Dave slowly lowers his tablet and narrows his eyes at you, the red mechanical irises doing nothing to set you at ease here. No, man, go on. What do you think my job is, huh? Dave asks in a flat tone. I mean, it's not like that. You just go places and help people do whatever they need to do, like Aradia's work with rocks and fossils, or Jade's with her plants and animal shit, you say awkwardly. I'd argue that last point, but I've seen Jade put a glove and get elbowed deep in alien animal shit, so I'm not touching that one. Or until she had 2 showers. Gross. I do like 10 jobs easy. I'm not an engineer like Dirk or Roxy. I can't design machines or anything, but given a bit of training on them, I can use them and maintain them. I know which bits I can duct tape back together and which bits are interchangeable. I'm not a botanist, but I know how to get samples for them and how to store them. I'm not a doctorist, but I've done shitloads of first aid and basic medical care. I know how to use our instruments to report things back to our docs up here. I basically have to be sort of okay at everyone's job and physically ready for anything, Dave points out. I didn't think it was that easy as just setting foot on a planet and being like, I'm the first man here, you tell him hastily. Dave rolls his eyes at that. Being the first somewhere isn't that hard to do. Even if you're not the first on that planet, you have to go like barely any distance before you're the first guy there. There's a man. What was it that Conyell said? That was it. Glad you came somewhere first. Now put your back into some actual work. You and Dave both break down in immature sniggering at that, so at least he's not actually mad about what you said. I really didn't mean to sound like an ass. Though I know I am an asshole, I try to only be one deliberately. Not that it always works out that way, you assure him after the mutual snickering has passed. It's fine, I'm not precious about it. Not to demand you salute me for my service or whatever bullshit the sailors pull on human ships. That fuckery gets culty real quick. I'm glad it doesn't happen much here, Dave says. The ship you came from was mostly human, right? This one's like, what, 5% human? I ask curiously. Before Dave can answer, Hal walks through the door with food, and better yet, coffee. The ratios were... No, that's Dave. The ratios were probably flipped before, so yeah, about that, Dave answers. What was what? Hal asks as he hands out food. You catch Hal up on your question as he hands the food out between the three of you. I don't know. I think it might have been less than that then, and even when they usually got the shitty jobs, it really sucked. We learned Alternian in school, and stuff on current TV was usually an Alternian, but we didn't get to talk one-on-one to many trolls till we got here, Hal tells you. But your Alternian is so good, I couldn't even ever tell it wasn't your first language. The only time I ever heard Spanish was at the wedding. I've never heard any of you speak it, you say as you take the lid off of your reusable coffee cup. That was one of the things you left in shared cupboards here for just this reason. You won't hear it either, Dave says a little sharply and bites into his food. We had more experience with it growing up. Alternian is kind of the standard academic language, and Hal starts, but he pauses when Dave gets to his feet and grabs his stuff. Later is all you get from him as he vanishes back into his own block. And our biological parents spoke it for academic work. So between school, TV, and that, we were pretty set on Alternian. We basically only spoke Spanish at home, and technically that wasn't even completely right. Our mom's family was from Spain, and on the other side was from Mexico, which are two different kinds of Spanish. Even they had to switch to Alternian occasionally. Our Spanish is kind of a mashup, so Alternian is just easier, Hal explains. Did I say something wrong? You ask uneasily as you look at the place Dave had been just moments before. Dave doesn't talk about them ever. At most you get something in passing or an insult about them, but yeah, he doesn't talk about it, Hal explains as he leans back in his seat. And I'm not pissing you off by asking, you check? Hal grimaces a bit and bites into his hash brown with a crunch, seeming to think your words over as he chews for a bit. I don't like talking about them, but denial is stupid. My parents were wildly shitty. Dad is the only real father we've ever had. It doesn't matter that he's our adoptive father and not our real dad. I'm not going to go into all the shit they pulled, but I'm not going to vaporize these from just mentioning the fact that they exist or that we spent a lot of our lives there, Hal says finally. You contemplate that for a moment. Biklopsidad wasn't the greatest Lucis ever, and stuff with Matuna sucked, and that's a topic you'd rather not go into either, but things weren't bad as such, certainly not to the level that it sounds like it was for them. But you can feel empathy there and not step on your hive mate's toes by bringing up the wrong conversational topic. Glad you're here then, you say and hold your coffee cup towards him. Hal's mouth quirks in a slightly ketchup-tinted smile, and he carefully knocks his coffee cup against yours. It probably didn't help that I accidentally implied that I thought Dave will deal with Space Jock, who doesn't need to think sponge cells to rub together, which I don't, but it kind of came out that way. You add and sip on your coffee. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Hal snickers. Thanks for the food, by the way. You say around a bite of said food. It's fine, just send me your credit or get the next one. Oh, you wouldn't believe the asshole in line with me, though. Hal groans. You're still chewing, but you make a vaguely interested sound. This guy was honest to God yelling in the cashier's face about making this special sauce that they have of off menu, and this girl was like, "Sir, I don't know what you're going on, but there's no special sauce." Turns out that this guy's Moirail was just always mixed his ketchup and some ranch together for this god-awful combination that's apparently is the secret to this idiot being alive. Like, anyone would have known that. And credit to this girl for working it out after getting him to describe it. And in the end, she just handed him separate sauces and told him to do it himself if that's what he wanted, Al says. Wow, that's both disgusting in taste sense and how you treat people sense, you say. I know, right? He didn't even do that. He spiked the sauces on the floor like the big touchdown football sportsman at the game. Hal starts, "Why are you like this?" You groan, but Hal ignores and keeps talking. It goes everywhere, and then he turns to the girl and yells, "He's never coming back here." And I swear I'm not making this up. She looks him dead in the eyes and asks if that's a promise. This guy screams and leaves, and the cleaning bots start fixing the mess. But I swear I nearly died on the spot. It was so funny. I couldn't even laugh. It was like I was just gonna burst. Hal wheezes. Wow, I hope if Moirail marches his ass right back there to apologize. Either that or she caught his name and set the carcat on him. You say in awe. I know, right? Needless to say, I tipped her because that was one hell of a show. Hal grins. You'd think you would have done the same. You pass the rest of breakfast in your normal, casual chatter, but finally Hal decides he's going to go to work on a personal coding project, and you're left to yourself. You're not a guest in this hive anymore. It's up to you to entertain yourself. You're not entirely sure what you want to do on your own, though. Good thoughts aren't really the kind of thoughts that creep up on you when you're alone and unoccupied lately. It's a lot of what if type thoughts. What if you've noticed things changing between you and Aradia sooner? Could you have done something? What if you had mentioned the Hal thing to her before the wedding? How long would you have stayed with her before this dying relationship you were in both finally decomposed enough that one of you noticed? Weeks? Months? Years? You knock on the door of Dave's respite block instead of being alone with your own thoughts. It's open, Dave's voice calls out, really muffled by the door. You press the button by his door, and sure enough, it slides open. Dave's room is kind of a mess. You suppose with how organized he was at packing your things, his place would be inspection ready. Instead, Dave leans back in his desk chair, one foot just touching the tangled snarls of cables on the floor. His desk itself has all sorts of things for restless hands. Interlocking rings, small puzzles, cubes with all sorts of dials and switches on. His walls are also a mishmash of printed out art that he's done, and photographs of your family, his family, and alien worlds he's been to. What's up? Dave asks, focusing your attention again. Nothing. Sorry if I touched a nerve or something earlier. You say it won't do to upset your hive mates, especially not this soon into living with them. Oh, what? Nah, it's fine, Dave says, stretching his arms above his head. You must tilt your head or something. Something gives you away because you're looking at Dave's tattoo. Because as you're looking at Dave's tattoo, he catches you and laughs ever so quietly. I would have thought that you'd be over my art since you had... I mean, never mind. Dave says hastily cuts his words off and looks away. Since what? You ask him suspiciously. Dave winces and looks up at you, seemingly deciding whether or not to say what he started to say. I mean, it's not like you've seen my art before, Dave hedges. Your god-awful comic? Yeah, you say, casting your eyes at the printed out artwork that is scattered across the walls. Philistine, genius is never appreciated in this time, but I mean, like, you've seen Aradia's tattoos, Dave says. No shit, you say tersely. Yes, you've seen Aradia's tattoos. You are familiar with them, and now you're not going to get close to them again, are you? Thanks for the reminder, asshole. I did them, Dave says. Poofy shit, you call immediately. This one here, the stars. Dave starts and taps his collarbone right where Radia's tattoo is. They're the stars of the Aries constellation as seen from Earth. That constellation shares her sign. It's not exactly hard to see Aradia's tattoo there. That one's visible with an especially wide neckline, and given that Aradia wears all sorts of things, it's not a stretch to think that Dave's seen it. Hell, they go on planetary adventures together, which probably involves certain amounts of getting changed in and out of clothes, so it's not hard to figure either. You weren't aware the stars were specific stars, though. She never told you that. Or that Dave put it on her. You mean you designed it or dug up some star chart for it? You correct him? No, I mean, sure. Dave wheels his chair back a little and reaches up onto one of the few neat shelves that has bags and hard cases of things that look work-related. He picks up one such hard case, unzips it, and reveals a machine that with a little squinting you can see is a tattoo gun of some kind. It's not very big at all, but that's what it looks like. I did the alpine bark beast head here too, Dave adds, touching the side of his ribs. You know, the place that Aradia has hidden by the band of her bra. As far as you know, only you knew about that one, but apparently not. You're not... Since when are you a tattoo artist? You have to train for that, and I've seen your art. It's shit, you say, and point at the printed out bits of his comic on the wall. I knew a guy. He taught me. I don't do it professionally or anything, just in specific circumstances. It's not anything funny. I was just tattooing. I wasn't moving on your girlfriend or anything, Dave insists. If tattooing, you don't just pick it up from a guy. It's not some occasional hobby like... You flounder. Like fucking macrame or something. There's no way you're a secret tattoo artist who tattooed my mate through it without me knowing and her ever saying it was you. The hell is macrame? Dave asks, clearly lost. It's not important! You snap at him. Oh, okay, look. I know my art looks shitty, but that's on purpose. It takes a lot of skill to be this god-awful, and I have my own reasons for learning to do what I do, and I don't need to tell you shit. But hey, if you don't believe me... Dave trails off, spinning in his chair back towards his desk. You watch as he opens a drawer, rummages around, and then pulls out a white gel pen. He pulls the cap off with his teeth and turns back to you. Come on, then. I'll prove it, Dave says and holds his hand out towards your arm. What are... Your words fail as Dave catches your hand with his and drags your arm closer. His hands are so warm. Warmer than Aradia's even. You always forget that about humans. Dave presses his pen to the skin of your forearm and starts hastily scribbling away. How did this devolve to you drawing on me? You ask in utter confusion. Well, you don't believe I can draw like that. I'm not going to just tattoo you, but I can do this, Dave says to your wrist as his pen flies over your skin. You want to pull your hand back, but suddenly you don't have energy for any of this. You're not angry that Dave tattooed her. You're maybe a little bit pissed that he is clearly an unlicensed tattoo artist and risked Aradia's health to tattoo her, but evidently it turned out fine. It's the fact that you didn't know that hurts. Why didn't she tell me, you ask, not really expecting Dave to have the answer. I don't know, tattoos are kind of a thing for sailors, so maybe she just didn't. I don't know. I'm sorry, Dave says softly and lets you go. Looking down at your arm is a sketchy but incredibly accurate replica of Aradia's hidden tattoo. He really did do it for her, and she never told you. You think you say something to Dave as you leave, but you can't really remember what it was. You go to your room and half sit and half fall onto the bed, just collapsing like a puppet with its strings cut. You stare at the drawing on your arm in a kind of numb shock for several moments. Okay, no, you can't just sit around like this. You have to do something. Something productive. Getting back up again, you go to one of your unpacked boxes and snatch up the first thing you come to from the nearest one. When you have it in your hand, you realize your mistake. It's the fossil Aradia gave you years ago. On one of her first trips to a planet she was investigating rocks, one end split open to revealing the fossil inside. She kept it and gave to you. It's a crab. Aradia always said it was funny that for some reason nature always seems to want to evolve crabs. They were on Earth, Alternia, and now some planet whose name you forget but doesn't exist anymore. Only this isn't a crab fossil, it's the negative imprint of a crab. The other half of the rock had the long since dead and transformed remains of that crab. What you have is the space where the crab once was, the place the crab was long since dead for ages. That's you right now. You're in a void of where your relationship was with Aradia once, and without you knowing that relationship was long since dead. All you've got is the shape where it once was, and you're not even sure about that anymore. Aradia never told you Dave did her tattoo, never told you that he was the one who drew that design out, and that he knows the meaning. You're not pissed at that. It's not like he crossed a line, but she just didn't tell you. The fossil tumbles from your hand, but thanks to hitting your foot on the way down, it doesn't break. You don't feel the pain of the impact anyway. You fumble for your palm husk and drop onto your bed. I'm gonna take a quick, water and sneeze break, as is a reasonable thing that reasonable humans and trolls do. I am one of those, probably. Hello, it is me. I am back and shall continue reading now, as I have been doing. You fumble for your palm husk and drop onto your bed. What if she never even pitied me? Solix, no, you can't think that. I have no proof. I don't know why she does or doesn't do anything she does. Fine, riddle me this then. Why would she be with you if not because she pitied you? Even though that died at some point, she stayed because she didn't realize, same as you, or because she didn't want to hurt you. It doesn't change that she pitied you once. I don't know. Did you know Dave did her tattoos? What? No. You have to have a license to do that. No way it was him. He showed me the tattoo gun and she knew about them. She drew on me You're the same one on my arm in pen. You seem surprised that I didn't know. What? How is Dave a secret tattoo artist that no one knows about it? That can't be legal. For legal reasons, I am assuming you're joking. My friend would never do something so stupid. As a joke, I'm asking Gamzee about this. Oh, great. Did he get your memorial too? Now, I mean, Gamzee does have tattoos, but he says Dave didn't do them. I won't repeat the thing that was definitely a joke he just told me. Holy shit. Though Dave was telling the truth. KK, did you even know her that there's all this and I didn't know? No, it's KK, did I even know her that there's all this and I didn't know? Just because you didn't know everything about her didn't mean your relationship wasn't meaningful. It doesn't mean it didn't count. I know it must hurt, but you can't think it wasn't ever real. It was real to me. I know it was real to her as well. Was it? She's not called or told me once. She wasn't affected at all when I got back. What if I was just convenience? A friend with benefits? Solix, now. How would I know if that was true? And would it even look different from this? Arati is weird, okay? She always has been. This was probably some shock response from her. Like, it hurt so much that she could just only pretend that it didn't hurt. Then she wouldn't have reacted like that. She would have seen that I hadn't meant it and got mad or sad or something. That doesn't mean it was all a lie, though. So look, I know she pitied you. I don't know when or why that changed, but she did. I'm sorry this happened, but it'll be okay. Just don't throw out every good memory you have from almost a decade with her. I can't know what was real and what wasn't. I know, I'm sorry. I have to go. You fall back onto your bed and keel over sidewise, so your head hits your pillow. Despair and hopelessness well up inside you so much that you feel like you might drown from it. It chokes up your chest and crushes your breath sacs. What is your life support supposed to look like without Arati in it? She was your gravitational center, the unwavering point that you tethered yourself to. You can manage to be something close to okay when you're not thinking too much, but as soon as you mentally come anywhere close to the topic of her, it's like you're dying. On the bed near your head, your palm husk buzzes a few more times until you turn the thing off. You don't want to talk to anyone. How are you going to manage now without Aradia? But then even as you think that, part of your mind whispers to you that you've clearly been managing without her for some time. Aradia has clearly been checking out of your relationship for a long while, hasn't she? She didn't care that you were breaking up. She thought it made sense. She's not tried to talk to you. What did you do to drive her away from pitying you? There's so many things it could be. Because you're the worst and she's so good. Is there some way you could go back in time to fix things? Something you said that you could swallow instead of speaking out? Were you too in her space or too clingy, or were you lazier in relationship with her? Did you not pay enough attention? Listen to her about her work enough? You can't pick one thing out that you did wrong. You thought things were fine and you thought that you were settled and stable. Doesn't that mean that all of it was wrong? Or is it like that adage where you put a crockhopper in a pot of water and then slowly bring it to a boil and it never notices until it dies? Did you give your mateship a death by 1,000 cuts? Years and years of not being quite good enough for her, and with each small error, you choked more and more life out of your quadrant? You almost wish it was one thing. That Arati had been furious with you and that Hal for being Hal's date and dumped you for that. At least you could have pointed to that mistake and known what you did. At least she would have cared. This feels so much worse. Your tears don't come in big, racking sobs. Instead, you lay with your face smushed into your sofa pillow, and tears simply leak out of your eyes. Time becomes somewhat nebulous for a while, at least until you hear commotion out in the main room. You're not getting up or anything, but you're listening a little. The particular cadence of Karkat's irritated and forceful voice reaches your ears, and that really does get your attention. Care, let me in! Karkat snaps. I wasn't trying to keep you out. God, I'm just saying Solix is in there, I think, but if you're looking for Dave, he's out. Hal tells him, the fuck would I want want to speak to Dave for? Karkat demands. You don't quite catch what Hal says as you get to your feet, but you can certainly place the familiar dry tone he uses when he's technically not saying anything untrue, but is, however, saying it in such a way that to deliberately get a rise out of someone else. You open your door to Karkat's angry spluttering as he tries to come back with something to say. Looking at Hal, though, you think that although Hal has never been prone to text emotes in his messages, is that his face right now could perfectly be conveyed with the energy that you get from greater than :3. Whatever you're going to say to Hal won't help, you warn Karkat. Karkat was clearly getting ready to point his finger in Hal's face and yell, so instead he just changed his finger and slowly flips off Hal as he walks away. Hal watches quietly as Karkat backs up and only laughs when Karkat has to glance behind him to check he's not going to make it through your door and not hit a wall. Why are you get as far as you get because Karkat muscles his way into your block, shoulder checking you on the way. More accurately, his shoulder hits your chest and makes you wheeze slightly because Karkat is physically dense as well as whatever. You move back into your block and shut the door, leaving Hal to his victory over Karkat. I brought frozen grub cream, sad movies to do with computer stuff, and we're going to sit here and I'm going to help you feel better because you've been clearly bawling your eyes out in here alone, and I'm not leaving you alone. Karkat snaps at you, his whole posture daring you to fight him. I haven't been bawling. You point out it's far too high energy. You've been crying. The rest is semantics, he insists. You're too tired to argue so much, so you just sit back down in your bed and surrender. The look on Karkat's face is pitying, and though you know that the boundaries of it are platonic, and it is only platonic because that's what he's called it. It's gentle and caring. It's a look that searches for how you are so he can best know how to patch you up again. When you two were younger and back when he struggled with how his attraction worked, it was frustrating and almost painful. Like you've always said, you'd have never cheated on Aradia, but the passing thought of kissing your best friend Flushways still happened to cross your mind now and then. A thought now and then doesn't count. You've never done it. You had Aradia, and Karkat can't share people in quadrants. The only thing Gamzee has going for him is that he's seemingly not interested in getting any other quadrants, so Karkat doesn't have to share him. Even if Karkat had been single and you'd just seen him as your diamond, it wouldn't have worked. Karkat couldn't have dealt with you being with Aradia. You know he wanted to, but he couldn't. You wanted things with him and that you couldn't have because of Aradia, and so you both were kept apart. So, yeah, it used to sting a little sometimes when you were younger. When Karkat would care for you and something bordering the lines of just friends and something more. At least right now you're so simultaneously agonized and numb from how much you hurt that if Karkat's sweetness does swing, it's not something you can feel now. What if I never meant anything to her, you ask? The preamble of all this is too much right now. Karkat pulls his face into something sad and sincere as he sits down with you. That's not true, he assures you. Don't know that. You didn't see the complete lack of reaction that you insist, but Karkat holds his hand up to stop you. She wouldn't have dated you in the first place if she didn't like you. Arati has never been subtle about this stuff, he tells you simply. And if she agreed and then realized that, oh no, she only liked me as a friend, but didn't want to hurt my feelings, you counter, Aradia, the girl everyone says is too blunt? Karkat asks incredulously. He has a point there. But not with me, you argue back, because you need to argue something. Okay, new tactic. Also, eat this. It's going to melt. Karkat insists and shoves the tub of frozen grub cream in your hands. The tub is already starting to get warm condensation on the side, so when you pop the tub open and rescue the included spoon from its home, you find that the frozen treat is definitely thawing. Tell me this then, Solux. When was the last time that you and Aradia paled? Karkat challenges you. Nearly making you choke on the dessert. The fuck, KK? Why do you choke out? No. You're the one insisting that she only saw you as a friend. So tell me, when did you two last pale? I want details, as explicit as you can, enough to make your Lucis blush. Karkat insists with his whole expression, daring you to do just that. All the same, the mention of Biclops' dad, no. He wasn't the brightest Lucis around, but you'd still rather not talk about this stuff with him anyway. I don't know, it's not like I kept a diary of that stuff or anything. You frown and think a little since Karkat doesn't look dissuaded. Right before Kanaya's wriggling day, I was getting into the shower before we had to go and she followed me. You're not going to get into more detail. Thinking on it now, you can't place anything off about it. Aradia didn't seem like she was playing along or anything. She was the one who put the moves on you there. You don't know what else to say about it. It wasn't planet shattering, but the two of you had been kind of on a time limit. You both got where you needed to be, so to speak. Why would she have done any of that if she hadn't wanted to? Karkat asks a little more gently. He's better at reading you than you give him credit for. I don't know. You're asking me to make sense of a situation where nothing makes sense. Everything was fine. Your relationship is completely stars in your eyes, swept off your feet every second of the day. Sometimes you have awkward shifts that don't line up, or you have conversations that are more about whether you need more trash bags in the hive, and did you send that email to maintenance people about the light? Or am I wrong? Is it all cinematic whirlwind romance with you and Gamzee? You ask him sharply. No, I mean it's the same. You have moments where things are romantic and close, and then there's a lot of time that it's just casual, and the occasional moments where you threaten to murder them if they leave their socks on the floor again. Karkat growls at that last part. Such a neat freak. As much as I hate myself, I can't see any one moment that I fucked up. I know the whole Hal thing was a fuck up on my part, but whatever went wrong was clearly before that. I told a lie that no one believed, that me and Aradia had broken up, and the only one who bought it was Aradia. She just heard that and went, oh, that checks out. Better get back to reading some science documents and watching a documentary. I fucked up with Hal, but that wasn't the fuck up that caused this. I didn't do anything big or anything wrong, and neither did she, as far as I know. You insist. Karkat moves to sit at your side, his shoulder against your arm, radiating warmth through you. He takes the frozen grub creamer from your hands, and you wipe the cold condensation off your palms onto your knees. If I can't say where it went wrong, how can I know what I did? How can I know what wasn't all wrong? That she wasn't just bearing my feelings, that I wasn't just convenient? You ask. Karkat eats a spoonful of the frozen grub cream in silence. You can't even remember the flavor because you were paying so little attention. For one thing, Aradia's not self-sacrificing, Karkat says. Hey, leave her alone, you protest. You're broken up, but you're not willing to hear people talk shit about Aradia. No, I'm serious. You think she'd sacrifice a decade of her life pretending to pity you if it was all for the sake of sparing your feelings? Not only is she not that self-sacrificing, but also not that stupid, Karkat insists. Then what? At what point did this whole thing we had just die? How long was I standing around knee deep in the rotting corpse of my mateship without knowing? You demand. Karkat takes another bite and frowns. When he takes the spoon out of his mouth, he fiddles with it in his hand for a moment, idly wiggling it back and forth like he would with pens when you were in school. I think we call relationships one thing, but actually it's a lot of things. Karkat starts slowly. Like what? You ask. Well, okay, there's the obvious do you pity someone question. But you can pity someone in a lot of ways. Red, pale, platonically. Sometimes it's hard to tell what's what, you know? Even when you're in a quadrant with someone, you're your other things too. Your friends, your hive mates, you watch out for each other's health. You can look at someone and want to pale them as well as all of that other stuff, Karkat explains. So you're saying what? That she stopped romantically pitting me but was still good hive mates and the bulge was good so she didn't notice? Seriously? Just incredulously. No, I'm saying, look, you're not the same person you were when you were 13. I'm not the same person when I was 13. Thank God. We're both different, but we're still friends. We changed and our friendship changed and did with us as we matured, Karkat says. I matured. You got older, you say, because talking shit to Karkat is normal and right now you'd need normal. Karkat gives you a flat and unimpressed look, refuses to verbally dignify what you said with an answer, and continues. What I'm saying is that what happened with you and Aradia most likely is that you just grew apart. It happens. But because you both like each other so much, you work so well as friends and hive mates, and you're clearly still physically into each other that you didn't notice. Aradia hears the whole stupid wedding lie, and she realizes it's true and it makes sense. I don't think she'd maliciously lie to you about pitying you, and she didn't. I'm sure she still does pity you, at least platonically. You didn't make a mistake, it's just time, Karkat says softly. If she pities me so much, why hasn't she tried to talk to me at all? You challenge Karkat and steal the dessert back. She's probably trying to give you your space, Karkat suggests. And what about all that stuff with Dave doing her tattoos that I didn't know about that? If I didn't know that, then what else didn't I know? You ask. I'm going to overlook the many roles that I'm sure Dave is breaking on account of. I'm off duty and I don't need more work. That's absurd, though. You can't demand to be a part of everything your quadrant mate is or does. I don't know all of Gamzee's friends. I don't know everything about his work. There's lots of parts of his life that I'm not a part of. It's the same with me, Karkat explains. You take another bite of grub cream right off of Karkat's spoon, just so that you won't point out that Karkat's relationship with Gamzee is fucked up. The stupid pick-me part of your think sponge wants to say that Karkat knows basically everything about you. If you were with him instead, then that wouldn't be something he'd have to say about his relationship. But that's stupid and petty. You're hurting so bad from losing Aradia. The last thing you want to do is put Karkat through the same kind of pain. Even if he's not been with Gamzee as long as you've been with Aradia, he's still invested in him. He does pity him. You don't want Karkat to feel hurt and raw from losing a quadrant like you feel right now. You'd rather things stay as they are, and Karkat stays relatively content. Hurting him for your potential benefit is a shitty thing to do. Doesn't mean you're not still tempted. I just wish it hadn't happened, you say quietly. I know, Karkat murmurs. He reaches you up and pulls you down into a hug, squishing your face to the softness of his shoulder and neck. His claws carve little paths through your hair, and his soft fingers rub at the inside curve of your horns. He shifts slightly, and you hear the sound of him setting the frozen grub cream off to the side. With that hand free, you feel the weird temperature change as the hand that has been holding frozen desserts moves to the back of your neck. I'm sorry that this happened. It wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve this. I know it sucks right now, but I'm here, and you're going to get through it. It'll suck for a while, but you'll make it. And in the meantime, you've got me and you've got your friends. You've got 2 striders to live with, and that'll give you something to be annoyed at, I'm sure. Karkat says gently, you won't have anything to say, so you wrap your arms around Karkat's middle and hold him tightly to you. You think you might be in a place where it hurts too much to cry right now. There's nothing Karkat can say to make it better. If Aradia had cheated on you and ripped out your heart, then he could rant about how dare she do this and break her heart. It was all her fault. Or you'd fucked up, then you could talk about that. But there's no blame to be had, no fingers you can point, and no lessons to learn from the idea that you and Aradia just grew apart, and it sucks. You lost something that you might not have truly had for a while. You can't pretend that you didn't lose it and go back. You can't undo any of this. It just hurts and it sucks. We could watch a movie, distract yourself a little, Karkat suggests, his voice making its way to ooh, both out loud, out in your right ear, and in the bassy rumble conducted through his chest to the ear on the side of your face pressed up against him. You shake your head against his chest. You don't want to watch something and try to lose yourself in the lives of fictional people. You're pretty sure you'll just end up comparing their situation to yours, no matter what genre. What about the arcade? Karkat suggests, and that gets your attention. There are, technically, other arcades of various kinds on the ship. There are ones that are set up to be escape-type puzzles, all sorts of VR games, one hosting esports or card game tournaments. Those are all fine, and several of them you like, but they're not the arcade. In your mind, the arcade of the ship is your single favorite place to be. It has game systems, both new and recreations of old ones from Alternia and Earth. It has physical games like air hockey and various ball-throwing games, dance games, fighting games, claw machines, and everything. It's claimed an embarrassing amount of your time and money over the years, and you have no regrets on that. The number of wriggling days you've had there is embarrassing, not to mention all sorts of celebrations. Most of your friends are nerds of some variety, so it's not like those trips aren't widely enjoyed. Going there might actually soothe your troubled mind for a bit. It could be worth a shot, at least. That could actually be good, you say, and pull away from him to sit up properly. Try not to sound too surprised. Sometimes I do think of good ideas. Here, we're taking this with us because I know Dave doesn't have a freezer and I didn't bring this for Hal, Karkat says, waving the frozen grub cream in your face. Hal didn't do anything to deserve that, you protest. Exactly why he's not getting it, so come on, get up, Karkat insists as he hops to his feet. That's not what Oh, never mind. You sigh, too exhausted to actually argue with Karkat. You grab your hoodie and slide your ship ID lanyard around your neck. Karkat has his on his belt like a little dweeb. When you step out of your rest block, Hal is nowhere to be seen, but even so, you feel obligated to shout to the hive at large that you're going out as you put your shoes by the front door. You don't get a response, so you just go. Hal's place, or you suppose it's your place now, is actually closer to the arcade than your hive with Aradia was. That's a pretty weak plus for ending an almost 10-year relationship. No one pities you anymore, but your blood pusher feels like it's ripped out, but you are a few minutes closer to your favorite arcade. Yeah, not a great deal. Did I tell you I had to have this big sit-down meeting with Kincray the other day? Karkat asks as you get on the tray with him. I can still hear well, though I guess you didn't, you say as you sneak a bite of the melting semi-frozen grub cream. He's been protecting people because they're politically valuable, and he tries to teach me about tact and how friends in high places will help you make real change. Like, motherfucker, one of us was at the captain's grandson's wedding, and it wasn't you, bitch. Like, you can't just protect people from consequences because you have a stake in the matter, Karkat rants. Instead of saying anything, you just eat a little more. What? Karkat demands, squinting at you suspiciously. You don't get to bitch at me for years about never having any tact and then immediately getting on your case to only be mad when I don't do that, you warn him. So I'm a hypocrite. Tell me what you think, because you're thinking something, and I don't like the implication you're comparing me to Cankring and finding things to compare, Karkat snaps. You roll your eyes and stab the spoon right back in the tub of thawing grub cream. I didn't say that, you're projecting. You've never abused your position of power for your own career gain, financial gain, or shit like that. You're all about fairness and helping people. It's gross, you assure him. But Karkat prompts you suspiciously. Gamthief suspiciously spotless record, or I assume spotless. He's got a reputation and yet nothing ever goes anywhere. I didn't think you'd protect or help people for your own selfish gain, but you said you'd pull favors to find me somewhere to live, and Gansey probably wouldn't still be here if you hadn't done something at some point. You point out that that's not the same. Helping out someone in another department and so you have a relationship with them and they're more likely to help you out is one thing. Corruption is totally different. Besides, Gansey's never done anything all that bad. He's a high blood and they have issues and people understand. The chuckle voodoos aren't his fault either. Him giving people the creeps sometimes is a reasonable thing to report people for, and people know that. I've never demanded someone make something go away from him. Karkat insists. Yeah, like a coworker has never overlooked something because Karkat's Moiral has done in the spirit of keeping Karkat on their good side. Like people haven't been dissuaded from complaining about Gansey because they know his Moiral works in HR. Like Karkat wouldn't offer to have a stern talking to with Gansey instead of real action. I'm not saying you're corrupt or like Kankry who only cares about being performative and advancing his own career, you say, and leaped at that. Karkat looks pretty sour, like he wants to argue with you, but you suppose he figures you're upset enough already and lets it go for now. Getting deeply involved in debates revolving around Gansey just don't go well. Karkat instead eats a little more frozen grub cream and tries his best not to look like he's pouting. It's mildly successful. You leave the topic behind you at the next stop, and at the next stop you get off and head towards the arcade. Sorry, the arcade. Even from a distance, you can hear and smell it. The haven of gaming is set on a corner of one of the entertainment districts. Each residential block has its own set up with the places to eat, things to do, all the sort of stuff to try and distract you from the idea that you're fleeing certain death on a finite resources to who knows what in the distance. More specifically, though, this entertainment avenue has several floors of open air, although stars and walkways interconnect the two sides. After about 6 floors or so, there's a ceiling, and then some other stuff above it. But at least here there's a glittering ceiling of glass that's due to some contamination and couldn't be recycled, and metal fragments that give it a bright look to the roof above the enclosed area. Your very favorite arcade is on the corner of one of the lower floors, but it goes up through 3 with a little food area in the middle. As you draw closer, the smell of sugary treats and spilled sodas meets your nose as cheery charms of games greet your ears. You feel better just getting close to it. Hanging inside, you take a left on impulse with Karkat following you as you eye each game in turn. There's always a decent number of people playing in here, but it's not packed right now. Pretty much perfect for you. You lead Karkat to some rail shooter game where each level is a new planet. Karkat's aim is worse than yours, but he makes up with it with angry cursing and insisting that he will kill the things that you have to shoot, and he can do it. When the two of you eventually die, you tap your ID on the console to rack up your points. You've got a membership with this place, and though as a psionic with physical psionics you can't get points for games where you have to throw stuff, hit things, or make things fall, you can still get prizes out of all of the other games. Karkat doesn't bother to get his points, but he still does ask you where you want to go next. Even though you can't get prize points from the physical games, you do kind of want to see Karkat fail at the games up there. Upstairs, you should just lead on, Karkat. Lead on, Karkat sighs. The pair of you hop into the little elevator and get out on the next floor. Have you heard anything from Pfeffery lately? Karkat asks you curiously. Nah, I guess she's too busy trying to be whatever replacement for the Empress is now. You ask? Nothing. I hear from Eridan sometimes, but it's only really gossip and complaining about people there. Not that that's not useful information to know, I guess, but... Karkat shrugs. Yeah, it's not either of you hearing from people you'd once considered really close friends, but it happens, right? People grow apart. Karkat whips a ball down off of the gated game area and still managed to bounce it back so hard that it would have hit you both had you not psionically caught it. Shit, KK, you're about to get us kicked out, you snort. Yeah, well, it's not. Karkat pauses and looks off with a frown. What? I swear I just heard Gamzee, Karkat says slowly. You grimace at the idea, but you can't see why he'd be here. But then you catch it, the strain of another voice you know. Not trying to piss you off or anything. Dave? Karkat whispers to you and you nod. That was definitely him. Karkat looks around, and so do you. There's no sign of him, but the food area is around to your left. You point, and Karkat grabs your arm, stealthily heading that way. It ain't like that. Gamzee's voice. You hear it now. You and Karkat peek around the machine to see Dave and Gamzee both facing a machine as another sailor, Fawzer, casually jabs buttons on it. Mostly you notice that Arati is there with them, drinking a soda and picking at nacho chips like everything is fine. Even seeing her is like a shot to the pump biscuit. What is Gamzee? Karkat starts to say, but you shove his hand over his mouth and both duck out of sight so you can listen without being seen. I'm perfectly fine. You're worried about nothing. Arati insists, her voice all soft and soothing like she'd use with you sometimes when your mind was acting up on you. What's Fawzer's voice gonna be? He does show up a lot. I can pull up a photo of him. Or image, I guess. I mean, this guy. What's his typing quirk? It's got like underscores. Okay. I guess that'd be like something drawn between it. So a little bit of a smile. Let's see what we can do with that. I don't see what the problem. I don't see what the problem is. If Aradia says that she's fine and nothing is amiss, who are we to doubt her? She knows her own experience better than we do. There shouldn't be any need to sow discord here. Sailor you know the least well, Fawzer says calmly. Discord is already here. Denying shit isn't cool, Dave retorts. Look, I appreciate the concern, I do. Both professionally and personally, I get why you'd be worried, but really, I'm fine. It's nothing. Aradia assures them. Nothing? You're nothing to her? Karkat grips your shirt tightly and gives you a look, imploring you to not think that about yourself. He knows you all too well. You two were together for a decade. That's not nothing. You can't be with someone for that long and be nothing, Dave insists. Even if Solix wasn't much of anything. Gamzee adds in with a mean little laugh that makes you want to snap him in half. Even Karkat scowls at his words. Hey, fuck off. I don't care about your beef with him, but just because you two don't like each other doesn't mean everyone else feels that way. He was Radia's mate sprint for 10 years. He's been Karkat's bestie since they were, practically grubs, right? If Solix died tomorrow, Karkat'd be a wreck, no matter how much you like him, because, shocker, not everyone likes people the same as you. Dave argues with a strength to his words that you hadn't expected. It's not like you're friends. It's not about that. Solix didn't cheat on me, so I don't feel badly. It's just happened that this whole silly situation showed up and that things have been over for a while. There's no point in being upset about it. It makes sense. Roddy insists, interrupting the argument between Dave and Gamzee. I think that makes sense. Arati can hold perfectly good feelings and memories about her mateship, but in the end, what's over is over, and being too tangled up in the past only leads to pain. It's better to focus on the future, Fawzer says. Don't lecture me on the past, Dave snaps. Ignoring what was will make you sick. Don't talk about what you don't know about Fawzer. He and I know what we mean with the past, and our little Bonesis here is the one running from hers. As much as I don't see how anyone could get with him, you can't pretend you weren't. Gamzee says sternly. Gamzee is right. Being accepting is one thing, and this isn't that. Dave agrees. I am fine. There's no point in thinking about it, Aradia tells them once again. Look, when I told you that you didn't have to worry about Solix because he's with us, Dave starts. I didn't ask you to do that. Aradia interrupts him sharply. And I didn't do it for you. He's my friend, and he and Hal are real close. Besides, it helped Rose. I had hoped that it'd help you not feel so bad for him leaving if you knew he was somewhere with friends. But I didn't think you'd be all la 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 la. I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. When shit is clearly wrong, Dave retorts. You think she isn't living in the now so much as running from what it was? Falzer says slowly. I'm fine. Nothing is wrong. It doesn't matter. Aradia growls. You peek around the arcade machine to look at the group again. Aradia is all but snarling in Dave's face, but he's not backing down. To your surprise, Gamzee seems to be supporting Dave in this, his body physically acting as a looming reminder of backup. Then why'd you pick here? No, then why'd you pick here? Dave asks so quietly that his voice is nearly lost in the beeping machines nearby. This is ridiculous. I'm leaving. I'm perfectly fine and my breakup is none of your business. Aradia says and marches off. I think I should probably... Falzer says slowly, pointing in the direction Aradia left in. Thanks, Foz. Gamzee nods, and the red blood hurries off after Aradia. With Aradia gone, Dave and Gamzee shift apart. We're going to be royally fucked if this doesn't work out, Dave says finally. You slip behind the machine in case Dave or Gamzee look over and see the two of you listening, because you know that'd go badly. Nothing we can do about it. What'll be, will be, Gamzee says labely. To hell with that! I'm not having her problems blow up in my face. I don't get how she can be fine with this. She has to be lying to herself, doesn't she? Dave asks. The way I see it is that he wasn't bad enough to get rid of until all of this lying happened. It's been over for ages, so she got over it ages ago, Gamzee says, cutting you right at the core, even though he has no idea you're there. No, it wasn't like that, Harkat whispers urgently to you, his hand tapping urgently on your chest as if to physically draw you away from his Moirail's wound. Hoofby shit, I feel gross about this. At least Foz are for now. This whole mess is just... Dave breaks off with a sigh. Bad vibes. Gamzee says solemnly. Very bad vibes. The baddest, rankest vibes. Dave snorts. Might need to flip our whole agreement around if she's gonna be a problem, Gamzee says slowly. Since when are you all future-focused? Hopefully she'll figure this out and we'll all be good with it. I'm going to Tortuga, Dave says unhappily. Mind if I have these then? Gamzee asks after a slight pause. Yeah, dude, whatever. Go nuts on these nachos. I'm out, Dave says, and you have to move a little out of the way with Karkat so you're not in Dave's line of sight when he leaves. You watch him go, tapping away at his palm husk as he goes, only for him to linger in the doorway. You pull back, afraid that he might look around, but he doesn't. He just stands there. A moment later, your palm husk pings in your pocket, and you scramble to get it before it makes more noise. Turntech Godhead added twin Armageddons to Strider Hive group chat. Turntech Godhead kicked Tentacle Therapist from Strider Hive group chat. Turntech Godder renamed Strider Hive group chat to Strilux Hive group chat. Hey guys, so a work thing came up, so I'm gonna be out for dinner, so like I have something I hate to eat, so have something I hate to eat or whatever. You only hate entirely sensible things that I also hate, so no. Also, I'm stunned you had the balls to kick Rose from this chat. I'm sure she'll have them for later. Oh no, my ass literally fell off from laughing now. How will I do my job with no ass? Even from across the room, you can see Dave isn't laughing or even smiling as he types. Another message from Hal pings, but you don't look at it because Dave has just walked off. Solux, Karkat says quietly, sympathetically, platonically, pittingly. We should follow him, you say instead. What, Dave? Why? Karkat asks, but you're already hurrying off after Dave, trying to also keep out of Gamzee's line of sight. That's not too hard to do, seeing as Gamzee is in fact going nuts for nachos, as Dave suggested. Solux! Karkat hisses, hurrying to catch up to you. You skid to a stop outside and see Dave heading down a ramp to the floor below, and you start to go after him, only for Karkat to cut your shirt. Stop walking, stupid. If Dave finds you following him, he'll be pissed, and you have to live with the guy. Did you forget how many times people tried sneaking up on him and Terezi in school because they couldn't see, and it never worked on either of them? You're lucky that just eavesdropping didn't make him zone in on us with that sixth sense or whatever he has. Karkat snaps as he glares up at you. He's meeting up with my ex and your Moira and then lying about where he is, and you're not even a little curious about that? You demand. Of course I am, but following him is just going to get us caught. But he said where he's going, didn't he? I just have to look it up. Tortuga. Let's see. Karkat murmurs as he taps away at his own palm husk. You relax a little. You're more than happy to work smarter and not harder. Karkat frowns as he reads and only looks up when you poke him in the shoulder. Sorry, it says it's a private members club, but their page has no information on who goes in or how you get a membership. There's no website or anything. I only have an address from the manager's name. It's somewhere down in the engineering deck, which is a really weird place for a bar or club of any kind, Karkat says with a frown. Since Gamzee didn't ask him if what he meant, maybe he'd know, right? So maybe it's a sailor thing, you suggest. Maybe, but I didn't have any idea that Gamzee hung out with Dave or Radia outside of work. I don't think he's ever mentioned that other guy to me, ever. Karkat frowns. Oh no, Gamzee is secretive and suspicious. Who could have seen that coming? I want to know what all that was back there. I have to know. We have to go to that place and find out what that was about, you insist. You think you might be deflecting a little? Aradia's comments were pretty hurtful and dismissive back there. Not that she knew you were listening, but still, it hurts. Do you think you might be obsessing over where Dave has gone and why he's hanging out with Gamzee to distract from how you feel about the fact that Aradia just described you breaking up with her as nothing? Karkat asks. He could have just fucking stabbed you in the chest. It would have hurt less. I'm not... You can't even begin to justify yourself. It just hurts. Come on, I'll take you back to yours. Karkat suggests gently, and you go when he nudges you back the way you originally came. As much as you'd rather focus on the new and intriguing mystery of why Dave and Gamzee are doing anything together with Aradia, you can't quite get past how honest Aradia sounded when she was telling them that she was fine. But there was nothing there's nothing to be less than fine about. Your breakup was nothing, that she feels nothing. So that's what you were to her. Nothing. Even as you want to redirect your anger and your pain, you can't help notice that although Dave lied about where he was, he did argue in your defense back there, and it was confirmation that he's not giving you a place in some favor to Aradia. That's not a worry that occurred to you, but it would have made some kind of sense. That he'd make sure his friend's mentally unstable ex was supervised. Shit! Karkat blurts out suddenly, making a few passers-by look at him. What? You ask. I just realized we left the frozen grub cream at the arcade. Karkat groans. It was melted anyway, it's fine. You say with a shrug. I got it for you, not random teens in the arcade, Carcat grumbles and folding his arms like the petulant little kid he hasn't been in forever. I think random teens who eat whatever they find in the arcade get the food poisoning that's coming to them eventually. Don't worry. You sigh. Well, now I'm worried about that! Carcat says with a guilty expression on his face, like he's responsible for other people's poor decision making. It's fine, you don't need to come all the way, you know? You tell him as you approach the corridor that branches off to your new hive. Right, sure. I guess I'll just go back to my hive. Look, just promise me you'll troll me if you're feeling shitty. I know this is rough, but you know I'm here for you. You know that, don't you? Carcat asks earnestly, looking up at you with wide, red, imploring eyes. You sigh and pinch the bridge of your nose. It's so hard to deal with him when he's sincere and genuine about things. Yes, KK, I know. This whole thing is shit. I don't know what to tell you. You say with a deep sigh. The two of you have stepped off to the side, but you're well aware that you're still broadcasting your business to everyone in your hive block who happens to walk past. It is shit, and it's okay to not feel okay, Carcat says genuinely and reaches up to set a hand on your shoulder and give it an encouraging squeeze. You're vaguely aware that if Gamzee was privy to this basically borderline pale display, he'd rip your arms off and use them like maracas. Thanks. Got any other fortune cookie advice for me? You ask because you're a prick. Go fuck yourself, Carcat snaps. Well, I've not got any other options now, do I? You retort without thinking. You realize that's depressingly true at the same moment Carcat does, and you really can't deal with that level of sympathy from him right now. Okay, bye, going now. You announce and scurry to your hive block as quickly as you can. The ride up to the floor is pretty sullen. Sure, you got off a great retort, but at what cost? You sigh deeply and drag your carcass back to your hive. After slapping your keycard on the door, it opens easily enough. Thoughts of what you witnessed in the arcade already bubbling in your mind. To your right, you hear a shuffle and Hal slides out of his block on his desk chair and leans back in when he sees you half and half out of his respite block as he does so. Hey, you're back, he observes correctly. Yeah, you agree somewhat listlessly. So you're in the group chat now, but I can't help but notice you not giving Dave shit. I, for one, am deeply disappointed, he tells you. There'll be other times, you say with a shrug, and consider retreating to your block, but something keeps you where you are. Looking over at Hal, you start to think. He's your friend, and he's definitely positioned where he owes you. So, does Dave ever hang out with Gamzee? You ask Hal curiously. Gamzee, I mean, they work together, so sort of, I guess, but not like socially unless it's a big party where Carcat's invited and his creepy clown shadow comes with. Why? Hal asks. Does he ever talk about him? You press. No, not really. Dave talks a lot, but it's usually just superficial stuff. So he mentions work, but usually only anecdotes or something funny that happened. He doesn't talk about his co-workers all that much. I mean, he's made the same kind of comments about him and Carcat that Rose has. So that's all the weird-ass relationship. That it's a weird-ass relationship, and they don't get Carcat, why Carcat's with him. But other than that, no, Al says. Doesn't hang out with him socially without Carcat being there, I mean. You continue. Al frowns and sits up properly in his chair. Not as far as I know. Why are you asking me all this? Al asks seriously. You glance around the room out of some vague paranoia that Dave might have somehow appeared from the shadows to overhear this conversation. This stays between us, okay? You say seriously. As long as whatever you tell me doesn't make me fear for your safety or that of anyone I care about, yeah. Hal agrees. Always specific. I was just at the arcade with Karkat. He wanted to take my mind off of how shitty my life is right now. Only we saw Dave, Gamzee, Aradia, and I forgot his name again. Father! They were all there and together, talking about mine and Aradia's breakup, and Gamzee and Dave were on the same side. It was weird. I know Aradia and Dave were friends, but she's never liked Gamzee, and I've never heard her mention Father, beyond just knowing he's someone she works with. But they were all there together, talking about us. You explain. That's weird, but well, Dave said he was doing a work thing, maybe having some kind of intervention about how she's handling the breakup. Kind of an odd crowd to do that with. I've never heard of whoever that guy is. Also, slight frown. Yeah, except the whole situation blew up and AA left, and I saw Dave invite me to the group chat and then claim he had a work thing after all that went down. You point out, so maybe he had a work thing after, Al says. I really don't think he did, you insist. No, you clearly don't know Dave, if that's Dave all that well. For all he insists he has this great poker face, he's the universe's worst liar ever. If he had a work thing, then he had a work thing. Why would he lie about something so boring? I don't care where he goes. He's not got a curfew here or anything. Seriously, there are children's books harder to read than Dave. Whatever that was, it's not going to be something weird and sinister. He's probably just looking out for Radia and if Gamzee was agreeing, then maybe he was being sensible for his change. Al assures you with confidence. Something about this doesn't sit right with you. Not at all. You don't know exactly what is going on. Shit, maybe Karkat is right and you're just distracting yourself from your feelings about what Aradia said, but there's no denying that something seriously weird is going on here. That is the chapter. What's the next chapter? Okay, the next chapter is Karkat. I think either the chapter we just read or the next one is I think this one actually is the last chapter I read before I took a break from the fic. I got bored of it and stopped reading it in my original read through for a few months. That was an interesting decision of mine. Anyway, that was chapter 4. I hope you all enjoyed, even if you were all pretty silent in chat. I think there were humans here. It certainly does look like some people were in the chat during the stream, according to what my OBS is telling me. But yes, that was a thing. I hope that all of you enjoyed and that you have a good evening, and I'm probably going to stop stream now, so good night and have a good day.